Sure, you betcha. We've actually had a lot of accomplishments this year, and what we continue to see is how it's a new do nothing Congress. In reality, we've passed over 900 bills, and what people don't realize, the general public don't realize, is when people talk about the Congress, they also refer to the Senate in that. And I think there needs to be some clarification of Congress, the U.S. House of Representatives versus the Senate, because for right now, I think there's over 25 American jobs bills that are bipartisan bills sitting in the Senate stagnant, being held up, which is one of the frustrations that are there. But I've had a couple of successes myself. I've a couple of bills that we've worked on that we're trying to get through the House. One is SOS, it's saving versus overspending. Here's the thing also that is really neat is that all of the really good ideas that I get come from the people in the district. This idea came from a Navy admiral, retired of course, because otherwise you probably wouldn't get the idea. But he told me one day, he says, Bobby, he goes, we'd get to our fiscal year end, and what would happen is we'd have X amount left in our budget. He says, and I would literally put planes in the air to burn that budget down, burn gas, so that I can maintain my budget for next year. And so what the idea that I came up with from that conversation is saving versus overspending is to, instead of incentivizing to do a spend down in your last 30 days, what this bill does is if we've got folks that are good steward with the taxpayer dollar, for example, if you get $1 million budget and let's say you got 30 days left, you got 200,000 bucks left over, what would happen is you would be able to we would incentivize you to not spend down, hang on to it, because then we would allow you to keep 50% of that, roll that into your next year's budget, and then 50% would go back to the debt of the country. Or in this case, 42 cents of it would go to the Chinese, because that's where a lot of that money's coming from now.
Is anybody else on that bill with you? What's the number, do you know?
I think we've got, it's bipartisan, we've got a pretty good chunk.
I'll get you the number.
You've got my contacts.
Another one that I've done, and I got this idea from my father. Dad died in '05, and he was served in Korea. And the last few months of his life, what would happen is my sister and I would literally go and pick him up at the house, place him into the car, drive him to Iowa City, and then we'd bring him back and forth. And we did this for several weeks before he passed on. But my thoughts were, why is it that we're having to drive all the way to Iowa City? Why can't we use a local hospital? And so what I did was, while I was running, I talked to hospital administrators and asked them, hey, what do you think of this? And every single one of them I got positive response from. And so what happens with this bill is that our veterans would still be able to use the VA, they'd still be able to use the clinics, but they'd also be able to go in and use Trinity Medical Center, or any hospital in the United States of America. And what happens is it has a little bit of cost as it starts out, but then as it gets implemented, it starts to drop down because you're going to have some upfront costs kind of tying in with the VAs so that the records are merged together. But it's just one of those ideas that it's a nice common sense thing, I believe, that and I kind of got it also when I looked at politicians can pretty much go wherever they want. And why is it that our warfighters can't go wherever they want? And I think that was something that kind of gave me a little drive. I mean,
You think so?
oh, this just crushes me because, when I was growing up, this is an awesome state, and we've been taken over by some bad politicians, and it's not limited to one side or the other, and I'll be darned if and this is why I ran for office. I mean, I'm not going to sit back and just watch the destruction of this state. We live in the best state in this dang country. And it really makes me mad that we've got more businesses leaving. We should be bringing businesses in here. But what Aaron and I talked about is that it's not going to be this bad. I mean, and he says, another problem he has is, you drive right across the river, it's 30 cents a gallon cheaper for gas. And that just kills me, because we don't have a politician out there that's smart enough to realize that all those people that are going over to Iowa to get gas, guess what else? They're buying groceries, they're buying cars, they're buying. I mean, this is not rocket science. Yeah, exactly. So.